So this is module 1, video 2, and Alicia and I are just going to have a conversation about self-care. So Alicia, years ago, when people started saying to you, "What about your own self-care?" How are you feeling?
It was really frustrating to have people, shouting self-care at me. Um,
Wait, were they really shouting it?
they weren't truly shouting at me. It didn't matter what package they presented it in. It felt like someone was shouting, self-care, self-care. Um, yeah, so that's just the way my perception was whenever it would come at me. So it felt very difficult to actually implement any self-care. I was feeling like really lonely, really alone, isolated, kind of like I was drowning. Um, and self-care felt really impossible for me. My two children had a lot of trouble spending time together in the same room. So even in the same on the same floor of the house.
Wow.
Just because they were both, yeah, their sensory systems, I think, were really at a point where they were very sensitive to everything.
Yeah.
And they have opposite sensory needs a lot of the time. And so what ended up happening was like some noises one child would make would trigger the other. And
Wow.
then that one would react, you know, upset because it would trigger them, their nervous system into, fight. And it would just then become a cycle. And they weren't able to really understand where each other were coming from. So for someone to come at me and just go, you've just got to go, do some self-care. It felt it just yeah, it was very hard to try to take that in. And it just felt like someone was shouting at me to do something that was impossible. It definitely felt like just too much to ask. And it felt like adding another thing to my already unmanageable to-do list that I kept adding things to. Um, and another thing that I needed to feel bad about if I couldn't do. So this to-do list that never ended, I could never check off enough things, and then I'm supposed to add my own care on top of it. And I'm never going to complete this list. So that's kind of another layer that came with the word self-care.
That's a good
Um,
point.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so so that's the way it felt to have people telling me to do self-care when I just felt like it was an impossible thing. Um,
Awesome. I
yeah.
mean, like, not awesome at all,
Yeah.
actually. That's a lot to carry, right? Yeah.
And I may have looked fine on the outside. I'm very good at having that poker face. I'm very good at making things look like there's absolutely nothing wrong, or I've got it, or there's a lot to do, but I don't need help, that kind of thing on the outside. So it makes people, so I get it. People probably don't know that I even need help or need support, or they don't know how isolated I was feeling or am feeling sometimes. Um, so they couldn't see that I was struggling or that I felt very alone. There's this Friends reference. I don't know if you want to share it now.
Sure.
Um, where Ross is saying, I'm fine.
Here we go.
I'm loud and squeaky because really, I'm fine. Fine. Totally fine. I don't know why it's coming out all loud and squeaky because really, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Yeah. So it's similar to that. And ultimately, it is up to us to carry out our acts of self-care. We are responsible to get that ball rolling, but we still do need that support to get some things done. So even though it is on us to get these things doing, that we do have control over at least little pieces we can implement. We do need some support. And it felt as though people were telling me that I should be doing things, but not telling me how. They weren't helping me or making me feel like it was possible. So to have someone shouting self-care at me, but not offering anything or telling me how or giving me 5 minutes to do the self-care, it made it even feel more impossible.
What changed your mind then about self-care?
So when I started to learn about more about me and about my own nervous system and then my children's nervous systems and the effect we all have on each other, I realized the power that comes with self-care, that I have the power to change everything just by changing my own perceptions and my own state. And I can do that best when I feel energized and well. And I say this not to put pressure on anyone. Nobody needs extra pressure. But I want to emphasize the power that you'll notice return to you. And when you realize that your nervous system, your emotional state, yourself can impact others, you can take on a couple different perspectives. So the first one is, it's all my fault. I caused this. Ah, or you can take on another perspective and say, if I have such an impact, then I have the power to shift it in a new direction. I can control myself. I cannot control others, but by controlling myself and my own actions, then I have the power. And I'm not powerless, which life can sometimes create feelings of when we're in the midst of crisis and chaos.
Wow, that's beautiful. That is quite a realization that you have the power. You have the power to shift. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So, Alycia, then once you realized this, how did your self care journey start?
So I started by making things simple. So I wanted to simplify the idea of what self-care meant for me and what I could fit in my busy days of all sorts of things and really stressful days sometimes. Um, so I started sticking little moments into my day that can help me gain the momentum that I needed to keep going. So I started by having 5 to 10 minutes by myself in my backyard, having a tea or taking a few deep breaths alone, even beside my children, doing that, pausing for moments of awe and wonder. So, like noticing things like flowers coming up and sunsets and sunrises and the smell of the rain, the smell of the outside after rain, like those little things, just taking in moments. Um, that's how I got started. And I started to do these things on my own. And I needed to feel like I was allowed to do these things, that by taking the time for myself, even in these little moments, that I wasn't going to be returning to something worse than before. So I didn't want it to be counterproductive, right?
Mm.
Um, and that's something you can do for yourself. You can allow yourself to do that guilt-free. Um, for me, my husband's support was really helpful. Uh, he will make me tea now, so he'll just bring me tea and allow me. It's like an invitation to go and take a minute. I will do the same thing for him. So he loves to take our dogs for walks in the evenings. Sometimes they are 30, 40 hour long, 30, 40 minutes or an hour long. And sometimes at not the most convenient time to get bedtime running on time. But I let him do it guilt-free. Like I don't want to make him feel like he's not allowed to do that, because this is something that he does for his own self-care. And so I make sure that I support him the way that I want to be supported as well. So you do have to be open to the support. There was a time where I felt super hyper independent and I felt like I couldn't trust other people to come in and support me or to allow me to do these things, because it's either a trust thing or It just felt like I couldn't allow that into my life. So becoming more open to the support that I need was also another change that helped me get more self-care in my day.
That's a really good thing to point out. It's kind of like what we just saw with um, Ross saying, I'm fine. And it's so easy to fall into that, right? To just say, I'm fine. But um, especially because we are often in the mindset of giving, 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 right? And so when somebody wants to offer some support to us, at least it's been my experience to say, No, I'm fine. I'm fine." Instead of saying, "Yes, yes, thank you. I appreciate that." Um, but once we start realizing that we have that cycle of giving and receiving, and everybody needs to be part of that cycle, that means at some point I also have to be okay with receiving because somebody else has a need to be giving. So if you just start thinking about that, that really helps too.
Mhm.
So
Yes, and to get this started, like, no one is although we do need this support and it's really important and helpful, nobody is coming in to take your to-do list and move you to the top. That's something that you're gonna have to do yourself. So you have to prioritize yourself before anybody else can come in and do it.
that is a great thing to remember. You have to prioritize yourself. You have to think yourself worthy to have to care for yourself because that kind of reflection outward will also bring it back to you. Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing, Alicia. And that brings us to the end of this video. Our next video coming up, our module is going to be on kind of getting clear on what exactly is it that we're talking about? What is self care, anyways, after we've given it so much hype? So, what is it?